Minor spoiler warning. While I don't talk about the story, I do talk about how to access additional footage, which if you haven't played the game, might be something you want to find on your own. My personal opinion though, knowing this will just make the game more approachable. Okay, so, I'm going to sum up my feelings on Immortality succinctly. Amazing story, with a great and unique gameplay premise, marred by absolutely asinine design decisions. This game actively tries its best to hide important information and frustrate you for reasons I can't comprehend. But before I rant too much, let's set up the game. The premise of the game is that you are viewing film on a Moviola editing machine of 3 unreleased movies from the actress Marissa Marcel, who has disappeared. This makes the game sound like you are a detective searching for clues of a crime, and as such, I thought this would make a fun group game, and was joined by 2 other people. Well, after 2 hours of gameplay without finding anything particularly interesting, I decided to finally Google what we were missing, because I was ready to give up on what seemed like a pretty boringly pointless game. And surprise, we were just missing the most important part of how to play this game. There is actually secret footage inside the footage you are viewing, telling an independent, yet intertwining story that is only viewable by watching the footage in reverse when given a cue. Simply put, when you feel the controller vibrate, and you hear this film noise, rewind the footage, and use reverse slow motion. Oh, and pro tip, play the game with a controller that vibrates. It makes finding the secret scenes much easier. Now, who thought, you know what would make for a fun game? Not telling the players how to play it. I'm dumbfounded by this decision. Was it some sort of weird gatekeeping exclusivity? Maybe a marketing gimmick? How many people didn't figure out this cryptic gameplay and just quit? Seems like a backwards way of making a game to me. This revelation of finding the hidden scenes is what makes this game and story finally start to unfold. I will warn you though, there were moments I had to reverse a scene sometimes a half dozen times to get the secret clip to activate. So if it doesn't work the first time, try it a few more times. And again, we had to look this up. And no, I don't have an idea why they keep this information hidden. After finding out how to actually play the game, our collective impressions instantly flipped. Every little snippet of film slowly started building the narrative, and we couldn't get it fast enough. So much surprise and excitement as the narrative was being revealed. Even when there was foreshadowing of events to come, finally getting to view the scene was just as satisfying as the surprises. But just when the game was finally coming together, we ran into another problem: information overload. There are so many film snippets to watch, with so many different things on screen, and so many different directions to go, with a whirlwind of people, and all of this jumping around in time and between the 3 movies. This led to so many death spirals, or chasing of our own tails, or just simple dead ends to backtrack from. Now, in hindsight, we could have tried to be a little more organized with trying to follow specific people or objects or ideas to see where they went, instead of haphazardly clicking on whatever interested us in the moment. But this was still a monumental amount of information to attempt to catalog. There were points where we would argue among ourselves if we had previously watched a scene, or if we mistook it for the rehearsal or the script reading of that same scene. Okay, most of the not remembering was on me, but after 100 scenes and hours of film, it is easy to forget what you have already viewed. There were so many times I was ready for a break from this game, because we would literally spend an hour without making any progress, and again, be stuck asking if we were missing something important. And to add to this confusion, the controller would vibrate watching a scene one time, but not another. Even after completing the game, we were still confused on what caused a controller to vibrate sometimes. No idea if this was a bug, or letting you know if there was something else in the scene to look for. Underneath all this frustration though, there was never a doubt about finishing the story. Throughout my moments where I was ready to give up playing, I still wanted to look up the ending. And I can't give enough credit to the direction. or the writing and the actors, but especially her, with that intensity to her eyes and how unnerving she is. There's been games where I was fine stopping in the middle, foregoing closure, but Immortality needed an ending. And that is ultimately what kept us going, knowing each piece adding up led to one of the best stories I have seen in a game for a very long time. And yes, the final scene was well worth it. Although, I will admit to reading and watching additional explanations of what transpired, but the extra nuance was even more fulfilling. Overall, I almost recommend this game for story alone. I mean, if you decide not to play, I would even recommend just watching someone else play through it. Yes, it is that good. As for gameplay though, listen, this was quite a unique way of making a narrative game, digging through movie footage, trying to find those Easter egg moments that keep leading you forward, leaving you needing just a little more info. But I can't shake the feeling, this game doesn't want people to play or complete it, as arcane and tedious as it was. To start off, hiding the actual goal of Immortality and how to do it, if I wouldn't have broken down and looked it up, you wouldn't even be watching this review. Immortality's love for forcing the player to wade through immense time sinks and bloat as you hold out hope for something to move the story forward is exhausting. Not that the scenes in and of themselves are bad, but unless you have a meta investment in the movies themselves, it can become tiring. Then do I actually recommend Immortality? Yes. Yes. I mean, how do you say a narrative story game with an amazing story is bad? I can't, even though Immortality did everything it could to convince me otherwise. Thanks for watching.